December 1980, and in Mayfair, the late night heartbeat of the London establishment, the freezing streets are full. And while some people head home in the city's famous black cabs, the rest are off out for more fun, in its strip bars, members clubs and famous casino. Like any casino at the time, Crockford's is full of cigarette smoke, cologne and people losing money, but it's also trying to be different. Once the biggest baccarat parlour in the world, it's now battling hard to survive. How? With disco bass lines, cutting edge tech and even female guests. And tonight, one female guest is winning big, again. She's got a secret, which sits inside her brand new Sony Walkman. Her game is nearly up though, and she's about to face the music. To find out why, we need to head back to the start of the story just a few months earlier. It's spring 1980. Christina Summers doesn't go to casinos. They feel like part of the establishment that she has grown to hate. Her father had been a military radio technician involved in top secret war work, so secret that after he'd died, his family had been abandoned. Her mother died soon afterwards, leaving Christina as an angry young woman. Expelled from boarding school, she had vanished to a music festival the same summer and cut all ties from her past. Now, at 24, she's getting her own back, leaving a string of rich boyfriends in her wake to pay for her and her friends. And tonight, one such boyfriend has dragged them to Crockford's. Inside, it's more fun than she'd imagined. James Bond meets Saturday Night Fever, and she's particularly drawn to the roulette. Now, roulette wheels are home to the most foolish betting of all, with most players chasing a 1 in 37 jackpot. And whilst this table will still take your money, it's also slightly different. It's part of a trial, designed to save on staff costs, speed up betting and look modern, while roulette wheels are completely automated. The wheel sits inside a sealed perspex dome. The gameplay happens automatically, and all bets and winnings are handled by the console without the need for a dealer. But as Christina watches, she notices something strange. The wheel spins, the ball launches, and there's a click. Before the wheel starts to slow, then another, before a sharper jolt, and then down the ball drops. She leans in to listen more closely. A hum, a click, a shift in tempo, another hum, a second click, a lurch, and then down the ball drops. A waitress sees her staring and stops to explain. The thing runs on radio, but she knows that already. She's worked it out, because people see her as a rebel and assume she'd never listened to her father. But she did, and she's about to prove it. After 4 weeks of preparation, Christina strolls back into Crockford's, wearing heels, a smile, and strapped to her hip, the gadget of the year.
Sony introduces the only cassette player as small as a cassette case, the incredible sounding Super Walkman.
It's the summer of 1980, and for music lovers, the world has just changed forever. You can now listen to your favourite tunes anywhere thanks to another cool game-changing new invention called the Sony Walkman. At first, it's known as the Soundabout in the United States, the Freestyle in Australia and Sweden, and the Stowaway in the UK. It's just hit the shops, and it's £90, or $660 in today's money. They don't come cheap, but Christina's borrowed hers from her boyfriend. He'll never see his Walkman again. As a kid, she didn't care for dolls or dresses. What she loved was what her dad loved, which was guns, cars, and most of all, radios. Learning everything he knew about signal flow and signal disruption. And what she's detected on this early automated roulette wheel were 4 different signals. The first starts the wheel. The second releases the ball, but it's the third and fourth that she's interested in because she plans to override them. So she's gutted the Walkman, ripped out its tape deck and built in a signal disruptor. And now, after much trial and error, when triggered, it will show the wheel early, and when triggered again, will jolt it even slower and make the ball drop. The result? A more predictable landing zone and the chance of easy money. And finally, here she is for real, about to give her new toy a try. Nearby, a waitress offers free champagne. She declines, stays focused, and the wheel spins. She places her bet, picking 9 neighbouring numbers as planned around a quarter of the wheel to aim for. The ball is launched. Around it goes. Then, a little bit early, she presses play, slowing the wheel, and then, when the ball's position is right, she presses stop, triggering the drop, and then it lands in the middle of the sector. So she smiles, cashes in, and leaves. She's beaten the casino at its own game, by making the end result predictable. The question is, how much of its money can she take if she keeps on doing so? Soon, she's going to Crockford's every weekend. She arrives at the pub closing time, hiding amongst the loudest crowds, biggest wins and most tragic losses. She slides into a stall at the automated wheel and keeps her bets modest. She places a chip on each of the other 9 neighbouring numbers. She watches the ball spin, presses play on her Walkman, then stop on her Walkman, and then the ball lands in her sector. That's 35 chips for the win, minus 9, which equals 12. She doesn't have perfect control. It's a basic system relying on good timing and good luck, and the ball can still scatter when it hits the fret between the pockets, so she still sometimes loses. But it's another advantage that she has over casinos. She's not greedy. The losses keep her under the radar, but the wins still keep her up. £200 in the first week, £300 the next, then £500, and as long as she beats the house, Christina heads home happy. Now the house does notice when it loses, and it notices sometimes that the roulette wheel is down, paying more than it should. It happens though, it's all within limits, but if anything else starts to look a bit suspicious, they always investigate hard. As the summer of 1980 turns into autumn, her visit to Crockford's becomes more lucrative. She's calling the tunes, making the ball dance and walking away with more and more cash. £600 a night, £700, £800. She's careful never to attract too much attention, but with one rookie error, she's doing so. Choosing 5 or 6 neighbouring numbers is a very common strategy indeed, but she lacks the control of the ball to make that a winning option. Choosing 7 or 8 numbers is less common, but it does happen. Choosing 9 though, the amount she needs to regularly hit pay dirt, is a very rare strategy indeed. But she's doing it all the time, and mostly she's winning. So the casino have clocked it, but so far they aren't concerned. The odds are always in their favour, so they don't mind seeing winners. They usually give most of it back anyway, and when they don't, it's good PR. So they haven't put 2 and 2 together. The times when the table is down, and the times when Christina is winning, with her big unusual sectors. So for now, she's getting away with it, because nothing is ringing any alarm bells. At least, not in the casino. Further down the block though, alarm bells are ringing, and it's starting to become a big problem. In recent weeks, a local minicab firm has started losing business. On certain nights, no real pattern, but right when they're needed most, at heading home time, their signals are cutting out. Static floods the channel, jobs vanish from the board, calls suddenly drop without warning. They have no idea why it's happening, but they know it can't carry on. So engineers are called to investigate and try and solve the mystery, and while they do, Christina keeps on playing. Once a week, Walkman in hand, she heads home a winner. Wreaking revenge, she's quietly taking the establishment for every penny that she can. It's impossible to know for sure exactly what she does with the money. Her intentions though are clear. She's not buying champagne in nightclubs and wearing the latest designs, or trying to buy her way back in instead. Instead, she's a magnet for misfits and outsiders alike herself. Punks in bands, the kids who've run away from home, and ex-soldiers who can't get a break. So she's spreading the casino's money around and seeing what good it can do. And by October, she's starting to push harder. In just under 4 months of weekly visits, she's cashed in nearly £10,000. But although she doesn't know it yet, the walls are starting to close in. Down at the cab office, the interference is no longer a curiosity, it's a crisis. The company is losing whole nights of work. The manager hits boiling point. He files a complaint with the Metropolitan Police, and they take it seriously. They bring in technical support from the government's comms authority. A van hits Mayfair with frequency scanners, directional antennas and trained ears, all scanning for the rogue signals. They sweep the streets slowly, night by night, and then they hear it. Clear bursts of static that match the disruption to the cab firm, so they triangulate what they witness and identify its source: Crockford's casino. The casino has no idea what or who is causing the interference. They know it's not them, but it's their responsibility, so they will find out who's behind it, and then they'll make them pay. While the police leave them to it, Crockfords start poring over their logs. Records are kept about everything. Surveillance footage, shift reports, game records, because when a casino is under attack, its paperwork is its first line of defence. And that isn't just defence against the taxman, it also helps reveal any unusual patterns. And by cross-checking the dates and times that they've been handed by the police, it doesn't take too long for some patterns to emerge. The radio interference is happening. when the casino control table is down and when a new female patron is winning with unusual play. She's made it look easy. They allowed it, having no excuse not to, but now they're pissed. They rewind the tapes to watch her in action. She's not interfering with the table, they're sure she's not getting help, but there it is, in a regular movement. And then another, towards a device on her waist. It seems clear what she's doing, but they're not quite seeing how. So they're left with no choice. They will catch her in the act, and with a proper sting, and then boom, it's game over. At least that's what they think will happen, but here they've underestimated their opponent. It's December 1980 when Christina returns to Crockford's for the very last time. Outside, Christmas lights twinkle through the city's famous fog. Inside, everything she must do is crystal clear as always. It's the same MO. She slides in quietly, she places her bets on groups of 9 neighbouring numbers, mixing it up, never the same twice. No more bets is called and the machine's wheel starts to spin. Then comes the ball. She shoots up from the hip, once, twice, that jolt, barely enough that anyone would notice, and then the ball lands. Ka-ching. And then she does it again. Everything is normal. Except this time, she's being watched, scrutinised. Casino execs and plainclothes detectives are hovering everywhere, gathering evidence. They let the night play out. They give her as much rope as she needs. But then when it's time to leave, she isn't allowed. She's quietly intercepted, invited back behind the scenes for a compliance check. It's clear that this is not optional, but Christina doesn't flinch. They go through her bag. Cigarettes, cash, lipstick, then they gesture to the Walkman. They've heard about them. They're supposed to play tapes, except this one is empty. It'll need more investigating. They take her name and address. They take her winnings and they send her on her way, but she's not going anywhere until they've given her the all clear. And when hours later a tech team from Scotland Yard have taken apart the Walkman and see what's inside, copper threads, custom boards, a low frequency oscillator, a call goes out at dawn and a squad car is dispatched to bring her straight back in. But she's not at her flat. She's nowhere to be found at all. Before daylight had even arrived, she's packed a bag and gone. Later that morning, the automated wheel is cordoned off at Crockford's. By lunchtime, it's been crated up and wheeled out into storage, never to be seen again. The trial is quietly declared a failure, and soon, automation on roulette tables in the UK, Europe and Japan is over altogether. It never gets as far as the US, where the casinos have been suspicious all along. They're happy to take your money, of course, and do so today with their automated online wheels, which many find suspicious, but if anyone gets hold of their money, well, that's a different story. As for the episode itself, the less people that know about it, the better, so Crockfords are no doubt happy when Christina disappears off the face of the earth, taking her real name and the whole truth with her into the dust. Some would argue it's a strange thing to happen, of course, but perhaps it isn't when the person involved is raised with brains of a spy.